motorcycle just went by. All right. So thanks everyone for coming. This is Josie George. I had the pleasure of meeting Josie, 3 or 4 years ago now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I met Josie a while ago, and it was one of just on first impression, just one of the bubbliest, best meetings ever. It started with a hug, which never happens, or definitely doesn't happen anymore. But she just full of energy and does her own thing. And obviously I like when people do their own thing and don't fall into the norm. So I'm super excited to talk to her today. It was kind of serendipitous how this call came together, because after doing the one with Matt, I got a lot of great feedback, and I was like, I have to keep these going every 2 weeks. What do I do next? I was like, not everybody wants to do videos, so what do I do? And then Josie's fiance, Robert, called me and was like, what are you going to do next? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, you should do Josie. And it was so obvious, because the day before he called me, I was complimenting him on his Instagram and hers, saying the copy's amazing. The photos are who started doing this for you guys? He's like, Josie did. So it was right in front of me and I didn't even think about it. So I'm stoked to be doing this. Thank you, Josie, for joining us.
Of course.
How long have you been in real estate?
4 years. Just
okay.
Over 4 years.
And when you started, were you just did you ever have that, I need to act and be like a realtor, or was it always just be me?
Yes. No, it was terrible. I had a lot of good mentors, but I had this one person who I really looked up to. I thought I did. And she totally kind of fucked with my mind. I'm going to say it.
Yeah, do your thing.
Everything, the way I dressed, my hair, the way I spoke, the bag I carried. It was so, I lived in LA before, and I knew I didn't do real estate there, but I knew what part of that vibe was and part of that culture. And moving up here, I didn't think it was going to be such a a prominence on your appearance. And I kind of got, I don't know, squashed in my little dreams and rays of hope, because there was, that woman telling me all of this is you're so young and you need to look and dress and do all these things so you can look older. I had one woman tell me I should get pregnant so that I could meet mom. So I was like, wow.
This is going to be great for your career. Just have a
I was like, oh, cool. These women, but they were women. I mean, I love all people, but I was like, these are women. These are successful women. And they're telling me this stuff that I'm like, y'all are nuts, totally crazy. So I think I really struggled with it at first, because I envisioned how I wanted to be doing this and what felt really true to who I am, and I quit a corporate job to be able to be in charge of my life. And I started down this path of not doing that, and kind of did a little backpedaling, but it's good because you can always start again. And now I feel every day it's just and every year and since then it's been more in the right direction of what's honest, and it's become more fun, which I think is important.
No, 100%. And that's what I love is there's an aha moment where it's wait, I'm doing what I think this job's supposed to be, when really people just want to work with people they like, and this is who I am. So the sooner I act as who I am, the sooner I'll work with people I love, and I'll have more fun.
Yeah. Well, and it's every time you get, and I'm sure this is for everybody that's listening, every time you get a client that's your person, it doesn't feel like the same amount of work as if you're working with other people that, aren't that way.
Yeah. It's making new friends. Those are the best. And then that's why we do the housewarming parties, because then we can hang out with their friends. If I like you, I'll probably like your friends, and I want to help them too. So yeah.
That's isn't that what everybody wants, is just a referral network of cool people?
Yeah, absolutely. And so great segue. So you've always done social, you've always been active on Instagram. I've watched your stories forever. You used to do something where you would sit in your car on your Instagram stories. And sorry, folks, this is a video thing, but I just want to start from where I first noticed it, and then we'll build into the still imagery and the written word. But I forgot what those were. What were you doing? They were great. They were super entertaining.
I don't know, me sharing my emotions.
Yeah.
I think just thoughts of the day. over time, I think with video have gotten more comfortable talking in front of people, but a lot of it was like, I can be in my car and be in control of my environment and nobody's interrupting me. And I can just kind of say my thoughts and say what I'm thinking about a property or people I just met or like an experience. And it was always just the perfect place where something had just happened and I could go back there. And that was, I mean, it's your van, right? It's like a traveling office, except
That's right.
it's just my Subaru, but that's fine.
We all work out of everyone works out of their car. I just took it to another level. So yeah. And then when it, so again, this whole thing is about being yourself. So I came with this like little, I think it's clever saying, just be more than a realtor, be relatable. I think what everybody wants these days is they want to work with somebody they can trust, and people trust people that they like more than someone that's a salesperson. So, the suit and tie thing's kind of gone away. It is more about, who are you as a person? Do I relate to you? Are you somebody I could get along with to help me navigate this process, especially for a first-time home buyer? I'm already nervous about this. I'd feel more comfortable doing it with a friend. Totally. So I don't honestly know exactly when you started taking this new approach, but was there a moment where you said, okay, for my social media, for my Instagram, I'm going to be much more intentional about the imagery and the written word? And when was that?
So I started thinking about it towards the end of last year. So my brokerage, I was at Marvin Gardens and we got absorbed by Red Oak, and it was just kind of like a time to think and rethink about what I'm doing and what the process is, and whether you're being absorbed by a company or choosing to move to a new brokerage. I feel like that is a great opportunity to do a reset. And so I thought about it kind of like in my lull of the winter and going into this year, and just kind of wanted to start off. I'd been so against really doing too much real estate on Instagram, because I did join it 10 years ago, and I did join it because it was fun to share images, and Facebook was getting too crowded and I liked the creative part. But I do see the benefit of it for business and the benefit of it for teaching. And for me, like, that's the part I think of real estate that I like the most, from a service kind of perspective. Like, I love going in homes, I love seeing architecture, but what I can actually offer people and what I like the most are the first time buyers, teaching them, like, when they say, wow, we would have never had that information, or like, thank you for sharing that. We couldn't research that on our own. Like, that to me is the biggest victory, because educated people are making more confident decisions, I think. So I wanted to kind of move into that way of, how can I, not just only give this to the buyers or sellers that I'm meeting, especially now that we can't leave. Like, what ways can I put this information out there more, that still is enjoyable for me and kind of can reach more people? Because what's the point of just holding it all in or only saving it for those like one-on-one meetings? I just feel like, give it to everyone.
Yeah, no. And the sooner you give stuff away, the sooner you get back, right? So the more we give, the more we get. And I think what I've noticed between Facebook and Instagram, just using those two platforms as an example, is I don't even like Facebook's become so just political. Yeah. It's a waste of space. Yeah. In my opinion, the best thing you can do on Facebook is run ads, right? So if anyone's on here that isn't running ads on Facebook, you're missing out on a great opportunity. They have this awesome lead form. It's super simple and awesome. I guess we can do that another call. Or if you guys want to talk about it later, I'm sure we can. Do you do any of that?
Yeah, I did like my first virtual open house with it and that lead form, and it was great.
Nice. Yeah, so Facebook's a great spot to market through your business page. Mm-hmm. The nonsense is just out of hand, in my opinion, at this point. So with Instagram, I think it's much more engaging. And so what I'm trying to get people to get from this, like Compass, and I'm not digging on Compass by any means, but there's so many people that work there now, and Compass has a great social media marketing team, but everyone's putting out, Compass says, here's this for Mother's Day. And you're going through your feed and it's the same post. There's no differentiation. And what I've noticed with yours is you're focusing on real estate. You want to educate people. You want to gain more clients, of course, right? But you're not just putting up a picture of a house just sold. It's not the client holding the sold sign. You're using photography, I think, in a different way. And a lot of it's you're taking architecture, but you're also integrating yourself into the images. So what was the thought process, or is there one to that? And how are you being so effective at it? I know Robert's a cameraman, obviously, but I know there's thought going.
Oh, he's not.
Not.
I take all the photos practically myself with a tripod. And then obviously I take the ones of him. No, he's like, never. He hates it. He's like, let me help. I'm like, no.
That's amazing.
Creative control must live with me.
That's awesome. So how do you do, do you have like a full tripod? Are you taking it with your cell phone?
Yeah, it's easy. I mean, I've got the 10, it's good enough. I have other cameras and I feel like you could go that route, but it's just so easy to use the camera and use apps within the iPhone. And these aren't photos that I'm ever intending to print and put on a wall or even do anything like much larger than web. So the quality on the phone's fine.
So like the one you posted today, I think it was you in your house, and Josie just moved into her house a couple weeks ago. They're making it their own, which is, and we'll talk about some good benefits of that and storytelling. I call it story selling, but we'll talk about that too. But the picture today, I think, was you like leaning through one of your doors in your house, full body, great fluffy shoes. Robert didn't take that image.
No.
So do you have like a full tripod that you use with a little selfie stick in it, or?
No, I have a tripod.
Okay.
I have a tripod from like my real camera. He has a little tabletop one. I think I had them like linked together because we're still unpacking and I don't know where everything is. But yeah, I've also leaned my phone up against, like, use self-timer. I'll lean my phone up against a cup, a wall. I mean, I've done the photo that you put in the advertisement with me with the banana, was me just killing time at an open house where nobody was coming through last year. So I just propped it up in the window and was having fun.
No, so that's a great example for, well, two things on that specific, well, this whole concept. One of the excuses I think we all make for why we don't put out what we want to put out is, I don't have the equipment. I don't have a tripod. I don't have an iPhone 11 Pro. I don't have this. So I would if I had. And we all have it. I mean, this thing, 4K cameras, 1080, and you could blow up these pictures huge. Like we've seen the billboards. You go through San Francisco, Apple has their billboards showing this was taken with an iPhone. They can make a billboard. You can make an Instagram photo. And so even if you don't have a tripod, you don't have anywhere to put it, you can just prop it up and make it work, which is really important to think about. And we don't need all the stuff. And that's really with the premise of why I wanted to do this, is Matt went into so much detail about all this gear and being a professional musician. And like, he knows how to do a lot of things a lot of us don't. And that would create excuses for why, well, Matt can build his brand, but I can't build mine because I don't have that. And so what Josie just said is perfect. We don't need all that stuff. We just need to think about it. You're bored in an open house. There's a banana sitting over there. So it's a phone. And so like some people would say, oh my gosh, that picture's so cheesy. What are you doing? But you just have, you obviously.
That's who I am.
Yeah.
Also, like.
But that's the point is this is who I am. I'm not pretending to be anybody else. I'm fun. I'm goofy. I know how to sell real estate. If that's what you're looking for, great. If you're looking for someone who's super stuffy, great. I'm just not your person.
Yeah, there's enough for everybody.
Yeah, and then the way that you create your content is attractive to the people you want to attract, and then to some it won't be, right? So I think that's awesome. So with going back, you mentioned the apps in the iPhone. So again, you don't need anything but this. Mm-hmm. What apps do you use? Because I was like, I think she edits her photos. I just didn't know what you were using. So what apps are you using to edit?
I think Lightroom is the best because that is a place where you can either create your own or download other people's filters. And having a similar or group set of filters on all your photos is a really easy way to make things look cohesive when you're looking at like your whole grid. And it's not to say you have to choose one and that's what you have for the rest of your life, but you could do one month and switch over to another one the next month. But you'll see when you look at things, there's kind of, it's a theme. So I think Lightroom's the best for that. I use that for both of us. And then not for editing, but I also think, and this might be jumping ahead, but I use either like Plan or Planoly and plan things in advance. we can dive more into that, but like I don't do most of my Instagram live. Like the photo I posted today, I think I took that last week. For Roberts, I've used a ton of stuff we got before SIP because obviously we're like more limited now, but like most people probably in their phones have a ton of stuff they could start with. And then I use Photoshop Fix too, because sometimes if there's just like a car or something random, I'll kind of cut it out just to make it look a little nicer.
Perfect. No, that's great. And so don't, if anyone's going, oh, well, I don't know how to edit photos, so I'm not going to do this. It's super easy. So there's, I use Snapseed. I like a lot. I like Snapseed. And then I forget the name of the app. It's, there's one that does the same where you can just easily remove things, fix blemishes, blah, blah, blah. It's called Enlight. I forget who it's by, but it's great too. So there's a lot of good apps out there. You just have to find the ones you like. And I think what you're saying right now is really important too, because none of this is happening on accident. It's not spur of the moment. I mean, I'm sure some are like the banana was spur of the moment, but let's talk about what Planoly is and how you use that. So basically what I think Josie's saying is she has a marketing plan, and her marketing plan happens to be based around Instagram. And I'm sure it's not the entire marketing plan, but it's this piece, but it's very intentional. And that's kind of what I wanted to get through is this isn't happening by accident.
No, I think a lot of people, or the people I talk to, especially recently, just feel overwhelmed by like, how do you sit down and have the time every day to do that? And the answer is I don't, because I don't. I will go through once a week and kind of think, what old photos do I have? What new photos might I want to take? Or what can I input? Like thinking about Roberts, like what he's closing right now and what we can get in the house, what we might need to do outside. And these apps just give you, it's like exactly like, I can show it. It's exactly like your grid, but it gives you the opportunity to put in things in advance so you can see how they look. You can write your posts in advance, and then you just set a reminder. You get a little notification and you push it through, and then your Instagram or your social media marketing has taken you like 3 minutes one day. It's like everything else. You're not just, I'm going to mail a postcard today and you write it all out and send it all out. You make these plans in advance. And if you can treat something like Instagram the same way, I think it can be a lot less intimidating than most people find it.
And just to make sure everyone saw what she just showed us on her phone, that was not Instagram. That was Planoly.
This is Plan.
Plan.
Yeah.
So it lets you see what your page on Instagram is going to look like in advance. So you can, and I think you can drag and drop the squares, right? You can move them around.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it lets you create what you want to create. But that was, so the apps, if you're taking notes, you don't have to, I'll send all this out later, but it's Plan, PLANN, I think.
Yeah,
2 N's,
or
right?
there's Plan. I can send you all. I have a bunch.
Yeah.
I'll send them to you. But they're basically scheduling apps. So it's apps where you can kind of make the post you want to have. Say you do it on the weekend, or you just pick one day a week and you plan it out. And then it's like scheduling emails. They'll just go out at a certain time. You can try different times of the day so you can see, when you're getting the most traction, and it makes it really simple.
So you hit on something I was going to get to later, but you said how you can see that you're getting the most traction. So again, this is free. This costs $0. You're doing it. It's planned ahead. It's not my entire Wednesday is going to be dedicated to taking photos for real estate. She's planned it out, but let's talk about the analytics and how you're getting feedback on when you should post, who's engaged, who's not. How do you look at all those things?
Well, there are apps that you can get for that, but the most simple thing to do for a new user or someone wanting to use it more is to make sure you have a business page and there's analytics that live right within the app. So that's like a great place to start to see how many views, how many leads, how many impressions, comments for your stories and for your posts, like the gender, the age range, like brackets, like all sorts of things, like who's kind of on you the most.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's again, free analytics.
Yeah.
So I always compare what we're doing, like what Josie's doing on Instagram. I compare that to a mailer because we all know what a mailer is. Yes. Have a marketing postcard designed. I spend a bunch of money to put it in front of this market. And I send my mailer out, and then I just wait for my email and my phone to ring. And if it doesn't ring, I have no idea why. I just spent $1,000 on a mailer and nobody called me, but I don't know why. So what I love that Instagram does, if you set it up as a business, but if you want to have music in your stories, go creator instead of business. Adrian, thank you for helping me figure that out. I had no music forever and it was bumming me out. So I'm a creator on Instagram now, but it gives you the analytics. But Josie's spending no money, getting full detail of who's looking, what time, did I get more followers, did I lose followers, what time of day are people engaged. You get so much feedback that you can fine tune your marketing online, and it costs no money, $0. So it's just these tools are free and they're all available to us. We're just not utilizing them. So I want to save time for our virtual showings too. So we talked about your photos. They're not spur of the moment. They're planned. It's thought out. Go ahead.
I'm going to say one other thing just about photos, and like probably the unpopular comment is put yourself in them, because I have been watching multiple accounts that I'm running and seeing, and any time it's me or someone else in their own photo, whether it's with a house or a plate of food or just them or whatever, you're always going to get more likes and more engagement if you're actually in there. So,
and that's kind of what we started with is, like for Robert's sales, whether it's a listing or a new buyer, for Josie's, that's what I noticed is it was like a fun, like not just a standing there in front of I just sold this listing. It was like, it's like a fun way of doing it. Probably feels goofy in the moment, but the person becomes more engaging. I've noticed that on my own account, not that I'm trying to, but for Mother's Day, I post a picture of my wife and my kids, get a bunch of likes. I post a picture of a wave breaking, and to me, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Everyone's like, I don't care about that. So it's like, okay, I already have feedback of what people like seeing from me, what they don't. At the same time, you just have to still be you. So don't change who you are based on that. But,
no, but the other thing you can do to make it simple, and I do this and I do it for other people and suggest it to other people as well, is like have 4 or 5 things that are really like the cornerstones of like the brand you want to put forward. And maybe I'm jumping ahead, but like if you have kind of a routine set of things that you're posting, like for Robert, it's like we're posting about stories of his clients, we're posting about our relationship, we're posting about this house. So it's kind of real estate related, his dog, tips for buyers and sellers. You have this framework. So every week you also kind of know, okay, I just need one of each of these things. And not only does that make it a little more simple when you're thinking, what kind of photos do I need to start like hoarding or content to wrap my head around, but it also makes it so people that are newly looking at your profile or newly wanting to follow you know, okay, if I'm following this person, I'm going to get real estate. I'm going to get a glimpse into their life. They have a pit bull. I like pit bulls. They, cook, whatever. Mine's got like Disneyland stuff on it. Like, you don't want to be so out there that it's all just random, especially since this is kind of for your business. You want to have some reliable things, and maybe people don't follow you for every one of those reasons, but they do follow you for some of those reasons and will find some of those things useful, which is enough to keep them kind of coming back.
No, I think that's great. And like with Robert, the things you mentioned aren't like, hey, these will get me more business. They're just the things I know Robert well, and those are the things he loves. So you just put out what you love. I happen to be in real estate. I'm good at it, and that's it.
That's why people are hiring you. I mean, it is a service-based business, and people aren't hiring us really for the house. They're hiring us because they want to work with us to get them to the house. We're not selling homes. We're just selling ourselves. I mean, I hate sales and I'm against all of that, but in a way we're selling ourselves, not the products that they end up in.
That I 100%, like the way you put that's perfect, because we're not, like I say for mortgage advisors, I'm like, what are you selling? You're not selling rates. Anybody can see rates anywhere. They're a commodity. Rates are all the same. So you're not in sales anymore. You're in service. Like, get over, if it makes you feel better to say you're in sales, I don't know what to tell you, but like, if that's your only value is you can sell somebody, nobody wants to be sold, right? We want to be represented. We want, like, my outsider looking in of what you guys real estate agents do, your people that other people relate to, because you have to be around them all the time. You show them properties, help them, get an outside perspective of what things could be. Like I have zero aesthetics abilities, so I would need someone to say this could be that, whatever. But then you're a negotiator. I think the real value is I can get you accepted in multiple, like I'm not selling something, but I can negotiate. So I'm gonna take one quick second to answer a couple of questions. So Stephanie, thank you so much. Yeah, the planning app is called Plan. You spelled it perfectly, PLANN.
Yeah.
Erica asked, how does she work her stories? Is there any fun content there specifically, or any apps that you use best?
Yeah. Let me get to the page. Yes. So you can use Canva, which I know some people also use literally for making mailers. But I use a couple called, I'll put them in, Unfold, Cam. Those two I probably use the most. Unfold is for still images and some video. And then Cooney's if you want to edit videos. You can do it in iMovie too. But that gives you just some kind of different, like when you see those ones that look like little Polaroids, or you want to have text that's a little more separate from your photo, those can be like a really clean way. If you do want to share like actual, like a listing or something to put information, you can go in there and flip around and it'll show you a lot. But it's on there. It's Cooney Cam. But I think, yeah, I just play around with filters, text. I use GIFs. Like what I would say is just the stories are a great place to kind of just mess around, because unless you're saving them to your highlights, they do go away in 24 hours. So it's a good place to kind of experiment.
Perfect. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So again, we've avoided video entirely. Still imagery.
Yes.
Of architecture / real estate or whatever you want it to be, but with you in it is a key differentiator, not just a picture of the house, put you in front of the house. Yes. So sorry, you're going to have to, and everyone should be.
Or your clients, anybody. Yeah. I mean, both.
Somebody, a human being.
Yes.
But have you found on yours specifically, you get more engagement on the images that you're in versus if it's a client?
Yeah, so I only have, I think since SIP started, like 2 photos that I'm not in. One is because it links to an IGTV and that I am in it, so technically that doesn't count. And one was the virtual open house I was doing, and I was using the professional photos. Because I've been testing it on his as well. And 10 out of 10 times, if there's a real breathing human, it's going to be more well received.
And if there's a breathing human and it's you versus someone else on your page, I have to assume that gets more engagement.
Yeah. People, I assume it seems narcissistic and it feels that way also, but the feedback is positive.
I mean, it's look at everyone's signs and business cards. Like people obsess over the most is their photo for their signs. So if we're talking about personal branding, you can't create a personal brand and not be in it. So I think that's a really good point. So let's talk about copy. So there's 2 versions. You can go short form copy, which I tend to do because I like photos. And then there's long form, which is more like for readers. And that's what I noticed with yours is you have great photo to capture someone's attention, and then the written word is great. So what was your process in figuring out your way to go there?
Yeah, that's also something I've changed, because before thinking about it for business, I was very much like on your wavelength. Like, I am here for the photos. I will not bog people down with having to read more than one sentence. But when you think about, again, getting people to engage, it's like you either want to inspire them, to make them, feel like they could buy a house, or feel like this knowledge is accessible or entertaining. And that goes into education, like giving people tips, even if it's something like just some bullet points of things we can do. We've been doing that with Roberts a lot, just since he's had so many SIP transactions, to kind of try and teach other people. And that, I said it, entertain. So you can either help people, make them feel good, or kind of make them laugh, because it still is Instagram. It doesn't all need to be serious. So I think there's a place for in certain categories or sections and with certain types of posts, doing a little more. But, you know, if you're just sharing a picture of your kids or your pet, it can be simple. Like, don't feel like you have to totally jump into one thing and that is the way it has to be. Like, all of this can kind of flow within itself. But I'm always trying to think, like, what would be, from what I've heard from people that follow me and are engaging, like what would be helpful for them. And with this house and moving here, like, people are wanting to know like the details of the projects. Like, that's what I've been getting. So I'm just giving back people more of what they're asking, because when you do treat this more like a business, it really shouldn't be up to me fully how this goes. It should be, what do people want? And so that's just where I'm just trying to follow what people are getting most excited about.
Yeah, and today's was, so you named your house Martha.
I did.
So, which I love. I mean, I think even that in itself is engaging. And so the way, so everyone knows, just so I can be fully authentic here, we don't rehearse anything. I don't ask any questions ahead of time, but I did want to test my audio. So we started talking a little earlier, and I did ask a couple of questions that I thought were great. So I think I just noticed today the Martha, and you said, and I was like, who's Martha? And I was like, did they name their house?
Yeah.
So you know, I think a lot of what people want, so what Josie and I were talking about earlier is, I had a client I helped a couple of years ago. They bought their house. They're really creative people, and their Instagram a lot of times is them building on their house. It's not making it a home, making it theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a lot of times what's really engaging is that part of it. So when you're writing, is it like, is it planned? So you use Planoly to figure out your imagery.
Mm-hmm.
Do you also have the content, the written word planned for that specific image, or is that more in the moment?
No. And I think that's why I find myself sometimes using old photos, because I'll get an idea. I mean, I have my little buckets, right? Like, I know what I'm going to be talking about in general, but I kind of try and pull from what's actually happening, so it can be semi-relative, and then thinking about what image could kind of lift that up more. The imagery is still important to me, and I am doing some things like kind of more on the spot, not all old things, but it's definitely thinking like, what can I say if it's supposed to be like an educational post specifically too? Like, what can I say that's actually going to be helpful to people, like in the right now? And with us moving, like, I could have never planned this out in January. I didn't know that this was our house. We've lived here a month.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, you have to be flexible with that a little. I think it's better to be flexible with that, because especially in like the education space of real estate, so much is changing that, you know, that photo of me coming out of that door could be about what I posted about today, and a year from now it could lend itself to a totally different topic, but still be like a relatively kind of, you know, image that makes sense.
And when you're writing the copy, so do you write it all on your phone, or are you copying and pasting from somewhere else?
Sometimes both. Sometimes I'll start if I'm like somewhere and I'm like when I walk, I think is when I do my best, like thinking, like slow moving kind of makes my creative juices flow. Sometimes I'll take like notes on my phone, but if it's something really big, I'll put it like on my computer, one, because it's more simple, and two, to make sure, you know, grammar and everything is correct, because that's, you still want to care.
Yeah. And then do you use hashtags at all?
Yeah, I always put them in a separate comment. I just like the look of it. I think it's cleaner. I know some people do like the 5
dots. Yeah.
I used to do that a couple years ago, but I think having a separate comment just keeps things more tidy.
And so with that, because when do you have hashtags that you've noticed are working and that you like, and then do you just have them saved in your notes and you copy paste for that one?
Yeah, not every post gets the exact same set, but they'll be like if you have like we have a hashtag for the house now, or Robert has, you know, a hashtag for his business, or me for my business. Like, there'll be some that kind of live in everyone. And then depending, you know, if it's a day about his dog, or a day that we're doing yard work, like yard construction, like there'll be kind of almost like I have 5 sets for our little buckets, to kind of make it easier, so I'm not spending all the time doing that as well.
Got it. And then Megan asked, do you use a third-party app to separate paragraphs on your long form?
No, when I paste those in, I just go in and do that really quick because that doesn't take much time for me.
Okay, cool. What else on that? Because the copy, and I think, so actually you touched on something that I think is important for us to all realize, kind of a self-awareness thing is, you said when you're walking that is kind of when more thoughts come to mind. For
Mhm.
me, when I'm driving, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, I should do this, I should do that. And so obviously I don't text it. I'll just voice record my thought, because then we all go back to when we can actually create, and you're like, what was it? And you've totally forgotten. So just whenever you notice your thought, right? So you're like, oh, this is when things come to me, then you won't forget. So that was a really good point as well.
Yeah. I mean, I know literally in the name it says instant, like
Yeah.
Instagram. That means now, but like, just don't worry about that. You can do it at a different time.
Yeah, and I think that's what everyone's doing. So really, from what I think Instagram was initially to what it's become one of the largest advertising and marketing platforms, if not the largest in the world. A lot of people are putting out thoughtful, thought out content, right? And that word content is just weird to me, but that's what we call it now.
Mm-hmm.
But you're thinking through what you want it to be. And so just like you said, you would think out what your mailer is going to be. You would think about the image you're going to have on the front, what it's going to look like on the back, what's my written word going to be. Luckily, we don't have to think about fonts with this Instagram. They simplified that for us. But you're putting that same thought process into your marketing. We should be doing the same thing with our branding. And that's what I love that you have been doing. Does I think we've covered a lot here.
Yeah. Well, too, if you don't feel like everything wants to be a story, like you can also ask questions to people, right? So like I shared a little today and then I was like, what are the home projects that you're doing or like you think we should take on? For like buyer education or seller education, like making lists is really like simple and easy, just like like your top 5 tips for, safely showing a home or, marketing now that everything's virtual. It doesn't all have to be, it can still be long and thoughtful, but doesn't necessarily have to be a story. Like if you feel like education is something you want to lean into or, sharing your clients' stories too. Like that's something that you're getting from them just by being kind of there helping them. And then you just kind of have to take notes and remember it along the way.
No, and that's you made me think of something you said earlier. So you said giving people what they want, right? So I think what a lot of people do with Instagram, it's I want attention, I. And there's a Simon Sinek thing I heard a long time ago where he's basically talked about marketing, and it's always about the company. And he used a homeless person as an example, and he changed your sign from saying I want, I'm hungry, I'm this, I'm that, all about her. He changed her sign, and she made twice as much money she makes in a day in 2 hours.
Yes.
I'll link this video because that's kind of what got me on this whole it's not about you, it's about others. And what do you do in real estate? I'm number one. I'm top 1%. I'm this, I'm that, and that's what we think people want, but they don't want that. They want to understand the market. They want to understand how the house works. They want to understand what, what paint colors or what I can do as an addition. They want to understand how they can get what they want from you. So the sooner we give, the sooner we get. And I think you said that earlier, and that was a really good point. So, and that's like for me, like for my little branding thing, I had a plan of I'm going to put out these types of videos and these types of photos. And then what I saw just during this whole SIP is when rates were all over the board, like people were panicked. They wanted more of that. So okay, I'm going to put my whole plan aside to give people what they want, because ultimately it's more engaging. And it's really, if you're in real estate, you want to help people, right? There's an inherent part of you that wants to help people.
That's the best part.
Yeah. So cool. Thank you. Do you think we missed anything on the photos or the written word, or does anyone have any other questions? Because I want to jump into something else Josie's doing. But if anyone has any other questions about anything, let us know.
We kind of already touched on it, but I'll also say like the thing with like Plan or Planoly is not only it is mostly to make things easier for you and doing things in bulking, but also like, again, like having that look of your feed and making sure that you're not like putting the same things next to each other. I'm going to put him on blast because I can. But like, if you look at Robert, like the older parts of his feed, it's like those compass infographics, like all lined up. And you have to know that like the people that follow you are going to just see one post at a time. But if you're trying to attract new followers, be that buyers or sellers or whatever, you want to have kind of your main page looking a really nice way. And obviously, I'm sure you guys already have it, but like think about your bio, have your bio relate to what's going to be shown in your feed. Like everything can kind of work together. And it's not just like singularly about like the one thing you're doing at that one time. Like think about it as this whole marketing plan, not just like one postcard that's going out for the year, like the 12-month strategy.
No, I love that. And on that note, I just lost what I was going to say. Dang it, what was it? Oh, this is what it was. Because, sorry, again, I'm not hating on Compass. I love they give everybody content, right?
Yes.
But what a lot of social media marketers that want your money will say is something is better than nothing. And I can't say that I agree with that. If it's not you, I wouldn't do it. And if, what did someone say to me once? They said, if it's expensive and easy, it probably won't work. If it's cheap and hard, it probably will. Because people are more likely to give money for ease than to actually put in the work to get something. So, you can't differentiate yourself if you're doing the exact same thing as everybody else.
Well, and if all you're posting is just, back to like the you story, like your just listed, your recently closed, your testimonials, like all you're really doing other than talking to the other agents that follow you, like from a buyer and seller standpoint, you're only really appealing to like strong A and like strong B clients. You're not creating any sort of network for people to want to follow you for any other reason. So to, keep your past clients engaged and, get new clients, you want to offer things other than like the I'm the star of the world show.
No, yeah, it's just be yourself, right? You can't create a person. Like this whole call is about creating your personal brand and not even creating it because it's already created.
Put it out there.
Yeah, it's putting it out there and getting like comfortable with being yourself. And so you can't do that just using somebody else's content. You have to create your own. And Josie's made it very simple.
Yeah, people will be so excited to get to know all of you.
Yeah.
I'm sure of it.
Cool. Well, thanks for all that. We're not done. We're gonna talk about one other thing that Josie's doing that I think is awesome. So with shelter in place, we've all had to figure out new ways to market. We went from doing real estate one way on a Monday, and then Tuesday we weren't allowed to do it anymore. So a lot of people went into this sucks. I can't wait till it goes back to normal. I'll just sit it out. I don't think there is a normal anymore. I think it's up to us to create it. And even if, we could do open houses that next weekend and 100 people could come into a house, I don't think they're going to, because there's still the fear factor that people have that's not going to leave. So Josie, what have you been doing as far as virtual showings go that is engaging and helping you find new clients?
Yeah. So I think, we talked about it right at the beginning. But while people were on, like running the ads, like I don't like Facebook. I still have it, but I thought so many times if I wasn't in real estate, I wouldn't even have Facebook anymore. I think it's silly, but it is a great place to run ads. It is a great place to create your open house as an event and to promote it that way, to get people to sign up, to reach people outside of your own network. And you can run those ads, since Instagram and Facebook are owned by the same company. Like you can push those to Instagram too. So you can grow both followings in a really nice way. And what I think, I guess that's a whole nother conversation, is like how to successfully run ads. But what I think is important when you're on that video and doing that is to really, like what I found useful was thinking about it in advance. Like when I'm going into each room or when I'm in front of a house, like what are the things that I can say to make this interesting so I'm not losing people as I'm going? Like you want to have almost like not like a script reading off a paper, but you want to have an idea of the features that you would want to show people in real life and how those work and complement the house and work throughout the house to get you from the front door to the back door to the side yard, backyard, garage, whatever that is. So I think investing, I mean, everybody's doing these lives for like an hour. So it's still less time than any traditional open house used to be. So spending a little more time making a plan. So you're telling, it's a story as well, right? Like when I did one a couple weeks ago, and it was a story for me of like how people would move in and to remind them to look at virtual staging and look at these updates. And now we're going here. And it can feel cheesy because you're not really interacting with people. It's just you talking to a camera and kind of running around with your gimbal. But I think when you have that kind of like rhythm kind of predetermined, you're going to feel more confident doing something you're not confident doing yet because it's new. So doing as much as you can in advance until this becomes second nature, like an open house is for so many of us. Like we still prep for open houses that are ours, or if we're doing them for another agent, like you're reading the packet, you're pulling the comps, you want to know what to talk about. And this is just an extra little version since you're having to walk everybody through the house instead of just saying, go see everything and, you know, and then let's talk or that sort of thing.
And when you're doing that, so just to back up a little bit, so with your virtual showings, you're doing iPhone only.
With a gimbal.
With a gimbal. So if people don't know, gimbal's the thing that you can move your hand as much as you want, but the camera stays still.
Oh, I'm nervous. You can't.
But if you don't have a gimbal, it doesn't mean don't do it, right? Don't find reasons not to do things. When you're showing the house, because now, sorry, folks, we are talking about video a little bit, but I think it's important because I think virtual showings are not only for shelter in place, they're forever. I'm going to do another one with Tim McMullen, who I did a Tuesday call with, who he's taken virtual showings to a whole new level using 360 cameras. And it's a whole other thing. But the way that Josie's doing it is more in the moment. It's more like an open house, right? So is the camera facing you, or do you have, are you faced, is the camera, are you in the video when you're showing the house?
I haven't been. I've started them off that way and I've ended it, but I haven't done that as much. You know, we're still in a place where we're playing around with things. I can see the benefit of that if you want to get to the point of like, now let's run down like what the reports are, that sort of thing, kind of having that pause at the end of every tour. But you know, again, if you're not comfortable with that, you could just keep it on the house the whole time. Like get it set to know when you're going to start and stop, and like you're going to make a pause and like do a lot of talking. That maybe there's not something to show. You can't show the sewer while you're talking about the sewer bid, but like have a nice vignette of the home that you're focusing on, even if it's vacant, like a pretty window with a view, like give the people something kind of attractive to look at if you don't feel confident to turn it around on yourself. But if you can, either on the phone or the gimbal, it is just a quick little button and then it's back on you, and then you can turn it back as you start your second tour. I think in an hour, I did like this 2-bedroom, 1-bath, like a small house, 1,000 square feet, nice yard. I think I went through it like 4 or 5 times in an hour at like a pretty, leisurely pace.
So are you pre-recording it and then posting it, or this is lives?
It was live. It was live because I know that some agents in our office have talked about doing that for the people that are selling homes in the hills with like really poor internet, because that is something also you want to test in advance. If you have terrible internet, like it's not going to go well. You're going to get frustrated. You're not going to be able to set your expectations for your sellers. So it's always good to test out the internet first. One thing we've been talking about at Red Oak is definitely like the new trend of what sellers need to keep. Like you might as well ask your sellers to keep their internet running until close of escrow, because that would solve almost everybody's problems. I mean, some homes are, vacant or didn't have anyone living in them where they didn't have that service, but you could solve a lot of problems just by keeping internet, having a good connection, and then doing that. But yeah, some people are doing walkthroughs and then uploading them and calling that they're live. So I don't know. I think it's nice to be in the property because then people can kind of ask questions live and you can go to something and be specific, but you got to do the best you can.
No, I think that's great. And so actually, so with open, and this is the ignorant lender questions, because I don't know what you guys are doing really all that much. So open house used to be 3 hours, 1 to 4, Saturday, Sunday, right? So are you saying that now for an open house, you go by, is it open from like a window for private showings, or you're going in, showing it virtually, and you're in and out in an hour? Because if, how does that work?
There's both. So there's like the more traditional like weekend open house is now like an hour, either a Saturday or Sunday, where you can say like, and again, the reason for Facebook ads to like get it out there to more people than the people that just follow you. That was the benefit I found of ads, was I got a ton more eyes than just realtors or like my grandmother, like the people that follow me on social, you know, strangers too. But you want to be able to tell your seller that like people that are interested in buying are seeing this. So by running those ads, you can do it. But there's a couple things. I'm doing video tours for my buyers who just want to see something once first, and then we decide, is it worth them coming out? Because we're trying to be extremely safe. But then the virtual open houses are just in the house by yourself. I saw one question. It was a full hour nonstop. I would recommend bringing water. You do a lot of talking.
So that's actually really interesting because.
And yeah, if you go to my Facebook business page, you can see one I did on 3020 Florida, and you can walk through that house 4 times, and it's an hour, and it just goes and goes and goes.
But that's super smart. I never would have thought of that, because video is normally you walk through, start, stop, right? When you're doing that, it is an open house. You are saying the same thing over and over, which is no different than a traditional open house.
Yeah.
And people are going to come and go just like a real open house. So that's brilliant, because, 5 people are watching, you walk through, 2 people drop off while you're walking through, but you don't stop. You just keep going to your thing. You're going to have people coming and going the whole time. I think it's kind of cool that an open house is now an hour. Like, you guys are getting your weekends back.
I know. I mean, I love meeting people, and there is a element of this that's so terrible, because I liked open houses are fun for me, but like, if we have to be positive, which I think is important to do, like, we don't have to put out signs. It only takes an hour, and like, it's not that hard. Like, it could be worse. Like, this isn't that bad.
And how has the buyer engagement or buyer lead generation been as a result of these?
So if you run the Facebook ad for the lead form, I ran a few different ones, and Robert did the same when he's been doing his, and we've been testing all these things. The lead form gives the most contacts. Not all of them are real. Obviously, like, anybody can just put an email address that's fake, but I had like 15 emails that were real and not bounce backs, and everything was cool. But I think that wouldn't have happened had I not advertised. So I think it's important to kind of like, maybe you were setting a budget around having, Pellegrino and some snacks at your open house, like, put that budget towards even a little bit of ads, and you'll start to get more engagement, and you'll get people following you because they're going to see that you're going to be doing that.
No, that's so perfect. And the thing is, if you think about an open house, it was a sign-in sheet. Just give me your email, and I'll get to you later. If you're not going to buy this house, I'm going to get you eventually. All we were trying to get is the visitor's contact info. Yeah. Josie's getting it without sitting in a house the whole time.
I got more contacts in that one. I mean, you go out at open house and you're like, wow, I got 2 or 3, like, I'm killing it. 16? And I was like, I've been doing this all wrong this whole time.
Yeah. That's what I love about the lead form. I ran a VA loan lead form, and Diane, you're absolutely right, because we are going to wrap up soon. And I was planning on doing these every 2 weeks, but we're going to go into Facebook marketing next week, and we'll go into more detail on it. But basically, I ran an ad, and I'm getting all these veteran contacts that I can constantly reach out to, right? And Facebook's really simplified this. I've been trying this forever. And one thing Josie said earlier is Robin and I are testing these ideas.
Oh, yeah.
You try something, it works, you keep going. You try something, it doesn't work, you don't give up. You keep trying new things.
I mean, it's not, but we're having to use it in a new way.
Yeah, Megan, a lead form is basically you run an ad, and we'll do this next week for sure. You run an ad in Facebook. Facebook ads run in Instagram and Facebook, and you can set it up to ask for the information. So they click learn more. Like my VA one was a refinance one. Do you want personalized analysis to compare your current loan to your new one? Yes, I do. Learn more. Click. First name, last name, email. And it just populates into a lead form. When you go into your Facebook advertising section, it shows you all of the people who have signed. It's so simple. We'll do that next week. And you know what I'll do? I'll do a screen share so you can see how it actually works. So, Josie, would you is Robert? I'm sure Robert's into all this too, because he's the analytics guy like me.
He would just, I can hear him down there just being like, me, I'm ready. Like, he would love to talk about that. That's his favorite thing to talk about.
Okay, cool. So Robert, I'm putting you on blast. We're doing this next Tuesday at 3 p.m. And we'll go through it again. And if you guys don't mind, I wouldn't mind having the real estate power couple. We do it together if you guys are okay with that. Okay, cool. Well, Josie, thank you so much. This has been so awesome. I think it helps a lot of people I just want people to get over their fears, and there's not a way to do something, or there's not the way, there's multiple ways. You can try doing different things. So I really appreciate you taking the time to walk us through everything you're doing, and I'm looking forward to learning more next week.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions before we go? Or Josie, is there anything we missed?
I mean, we could go into everything in like such a extreme detail, but no, I think we covered it, like the basics, and I think you guys all have my handle, so you can text me or DM me or whatever. Like, I'm here.
Actually, that's a good idea. So
I don't know.
What is it?
I'll
send out an email, a link to this video in case you guys want to watch it again. You want to share it with anybody. And then a lot of the things we talked about, the tools Josie mentioned, and then an invite obviously for next week's. But Josie's handle is, what is it? Oh, did you do it? You're fast. Cool. Right on. Well, thank you, Josie. And thanks everybody for hanging out with us today. I'm glad you guys are getting stuff out of this. Pros and cons. Let me know what you want to hear and what you don't want to hear, because I am going to do these every 2 weeks at minimum at this point, I guess. So I'm going to do them every 2 weeks. But I want to know what you guys want to know. I want to add value. So let me know, Sean, this was terrible. Don't do that again. Just let me know, be honest, and I'll run with it.
They're great. I love it.
Okay. Right on. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.